Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am Jody Grinwald. This week, I interview a changemaker that went from ICU nurse to a multi-unit franchisee in the wellness industry. From Hand and Stone to Drybar to Sweat 440, Nicholas Marco is helping people feel good and stay healthy. His latest project is his new podcast titled The Opportunity Coach, which is available for streaming on all platforms. If you are an entrepreneur, budding entrepreneur, or someone who is looking for some words of wisdom to help launch you forward, you want to listen to this episode. Please subscribe to the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Today is the Day Live It. And all episodes are available across all streaming sites. Have a great week, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am Jody Grinwald, and as I say every week, I interview the changemakers, the inspirers, and those who are disrupting the status quo in the best way possible. And I could not be more excited than to have my guest here with me today, Nicholas Marco. How are you, Nick?
Hello, Jody. I am doing very well. Happy Friday.
Yes, TGIF for sure. This has been one of those weeks, right? We all
Hmm.
have them.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna I'm gonna share a little about your bio, and then we're gonna get into what I know is gonna be such an amazing conversation because you inspired me from our first conversation we ever had.
Oh, great.
So Nicholas Marco is a graduate of Penn State University, and his journey with Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa franchise began before the company opened its first location back in November of 2004. His father, John Marco, is the founder of Hand and Stone. At just 14 years old, Nicholas named the company. Imagine that. Today, he is one of the largest franchisees in the system with 11 locations in New Jersey. He is also the regional developer of Ohio, where there are 20 locations open with a development goal of 35. Furthermore, Nicholas is now a franchisee of both Drybar and Sweat 440. His portfolio generated just shy of $28 million in revenue. Let me say that again. $28 million in revenue in 2023. As a leader of an organization with over 500 employees, Nick has a passion for team building and leadership development, especially with franchisees and managers. His passion for the health and wellness industry comes from his experience working as a registered nurse in the ICU. I don't know what he hasn't done so far, and he's so young. This is amazing. Helping others understand their potential and motivating them to reach their goals they never imagined they could achieve is what he seeks to uncover in all of his relationships. You can listen to Nicholas speak twice a month on all podcast via platforms via his podcast entitled The Opportunity Coach, which I'm so excited that we're going to talk about today. And we're having this conversation before it launches. So that even makes me even more happier that we're getting to talk to you before you become this big podcast star amongst all the other things that you're doing. So Nick,
Mm,
welcome.
Thank you. Oh, gosh, you're such an amazing, I have not heard myself introed like that. And it's actually a little exhausting hearing it. And it feels good because then when I do feel exhausted some days, it actually makes a lot of sense why. But thank you so much. And I can't say enough how much that I've enjoyed getting to know you, and how inspirational you are and how much I appreciate all that you do for our local community in Monmouth, Ocean County, just in the surrounding areas and just in general for New Jersey business. So I'm really, I knew as soon as I met you and you did a podcast, it was like only a matter of time.
Yes. And thank you for all those kind words. I really do appreciate it. I felt that way when we first connected as well. I love people who are doing things for the right reasons, right? All the things you're doing, all the things that are related to wellness, starting from you, and we're going to get into this, in your career as a registered nurse, was all about helping people. And
Yeah.
I love to work with people who do those types of things for the right reasons. And so when we met, and you're like me, we're what multi-potentialites. There's
Hmm.
a TED talk about this, being a multi-potentialite. And I resonated with that so much because I'm like you, I like to do multiple things and it fills the bucket, right? So let's start. You were 14 when you named Hand and Stone. Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, funny story. My father had every name you could think of on our ugly oak kitchen cabinets, the old school one that honestly, it's probably something that's going to come back because you know how the style, it always comes
Yes.
back. But he told my sister and I, whoever comes up with the name, you're going to get a brand new car. And of course, we were very motivated to come up with the name. And, he's on the computer constantly, registering names that might come to be. And one day I just walked into his office and, I had mentioned, he kept talking about hot stone massage. That was something he was going to be really passionate about offering as our signature service. And I just said something along the lines of, Dad, there's, you're involving your hands as a massage therapist and stone, so what about just like hand and stone? And he kind of poo-pooed it, but then woke up in the middle of the night, thought Barnes and Noble, Harry and David, he loved the whole three words with the and in between. And he ran downstairs, swear it was like 2, 3 in the morning, and registered it. And there was no looking back. Hand and Stone Massage Spa, and then Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa when we added facials. We're actually now the largest provider of skincare in the entire world, believe it or not. So I really give credit to my mother who really pushed him to roll out facials. And yeah, like it's incredible because, he was 49 when he started this company. So if that's not inspiring, I don't know what is. And, I got very involved. I kind of kept the business at a distance almost purposely, like kind of being that young, kind of rebellious kid who like wanted to do his own thing. But the more and more I got older and matured, I realized, wow, this is a really cool thing to be a part of, and I really enjoy business. And I've been enamored not just by business, specifically franchising, So I love franchising, and it's just very amazing that someone can create a playbook and then you can buy into that playbook and then follow it without having to start from scratch, which is very difficult to do. And frankly, some businesses struggle to be independent when it comes to being part of a national brand with all of that security and all of that collaboration within the network. It's hard to compete with, and that's why franchising has been such a strong business model overall.
No, and what an incredible story. I just have to go back for a second. So how did your sister feel when you got the new car?
Oh my gosh, I know she was devastated. I'll never forget Christmas morning. My dad had a pretty much brand new Acura, and I opened up I think he made it seem like it was a gift card to something else, and I opened it up and it was a photo of his car, and I was like, floored because I was obsessed with his car. So it was cool. I was that kid in high school, had a cool car, and at least like I had a good story behind it.
It really does have a great story, but your poor sister. She's
Yeah.
wonderful and so sweet, and I've got to meet
Yeah.
her. Um, so talk to us. ICU nurse. How did that come about?
Yeah, so my original path was become a physician, so go to medical school. And so give credit to my father, who was always very good about like, what you might think something will be versus having, a good work-life balance. So when I was shadowing surgeons, I discovered the nurse anesthetist role, which I had no idea existed. And it kind of spoke to what I was looking for, like a higher level position in healthcare where you had to be, really knowledgeable about a specific topic. I kind of was interested in the idea of being an anesthesiologist and, pain management, things like that, but was always hesitant to go to school as long as medical school was because I do have what you just used that wonderful word, multi-potentialite. What is that?
Multi-potentialite.
Right, multi-potentialite. Because that is really me. I don't know how to stay in a lane. I have so many interests, and so the idea of going to school for 10 plus years, I'm so glad I didn't do it. So I graduated Penn State and literally a week later enrolled in an accelerated nursing program where I was able to get a bachelor's in nursing in only 11 months because I had one already. And the whole path was going to be a nurse anesthetist. And I really was the fit for ICU in terms of, I had to get my, hands-on experience to be able to even apply to nurse anesthetist school. And the ICU was great. I mean, you had to critically think. You really need to know your stuff. And I would tell anyone that's considering medical school, get your bachelor's in nursing because unlike these other science degrees, which I was one of them, I was a biochemistry major, you don't get to be in the hospital. And so honestly, going to nursing school made it very clear to me that I didn't want to go to medical school. I didn't want the path to become a doctor. And I was very appreciative of that experience because I certainly was very fearful I was going to enroll in medical school and have regret and then potentially kind of delay doing what I really wanted to do, which I really found the path through going to nursing school. There was the opportunity then to open my own Hand and Stone from scratch because one of the franchisees that was going to open in Howell, New Jersey, he fell through. And that's when my dad opened the door to my sister and I to say, hey, do you want to open your own Hand and Stone, one in Howell, which is close to my hometown of Toms River, where the brand began? And then it just kind of all snowballed from there. I've only opened one location from scratch as far as ownership goes, and then I've just kept acquiring them over time as a franchisee of the brand, and it's been fun. We have over 500 employees in my company now, and I really luckily never feel like I'm going to work. I really kind of run to the computer some days when I get up from my night's sleep. Um, there's something empowering about, of course, being your own boss and having that independence. But I certainly try never to take it for granted and create layers in the way that I work so that I can hold myself accountable because it's a big responsibility for sure.
There are some people that may be listening right now that may say to themselves, wow, I feel like because I went to school for this, I spent money to learn this, and this is what everybody expects of me. But I have this desire, this passion to do this other thing, and I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to be successful, but it
Mhm.
really is pulling me. What advice do you have for someone who's listening who may be thinking that right now, hearing how wonderful it is that you did transition to do something you loved?
So, if you don't have people in your life that allow you to grow through conversation, to consider other avenues, find them, right? So, I think a big part of those limitations that we put on ourselves is created by maybe the people in your life that don't allow you to just kind of spread your wings and consider other opportunities. But a lot of times, it's honestly just a preconceived notion that we label on ourselves that no one else is really thinking. We are always, I think, our worst enemy in a lot of ways. And if you just look yourself in the mirror, something my father had always said, look in yourself in the mirror first before you go trying to figure out a source of blame elsewhere, because a lot of times it is in you the opportunity. And so, if you speak to people that are supportive and want to build you up, they might help give you that encouragement. That's something that I do is the way I hold myself accountable to trying new things is I put it out in the universe. I've told people I wanted to start a podcast, and I did that strategically to make sure that they could follow up and say, how's that going? And, now I'm launching next week. So, I was going to be a physician, and now I'm a serial entrepreneur in business. And, I would have it no other way. And I guess the way that I got to this point was putting myself in as many rooms as possible with people that make me want to grow. And I never stopped doing that. And it created this amazing, person that I didn't even know was in me, but it just happened very organically through that, environment that I put myself in. And sometimes, it's almost always uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable, right, in order to grow. And so that would be my advice.
What about mentors along the way? Have you had some, mentors that have been there? I know you're a mentor to many.
Mhm.
At this point, and I know a few of those people myself who, are now talking and wanting to work with you. But what did you do in order to find your mentors? And was it your dad that kind of was the first one?
Yeah, I mean, my dad is such an inspiration in terms of, most people in his life were really giving him pause when it comes to starting this company because of where he was at in life and he was comfortable financially. At one point, the entire company was on a home equity line, and I'll never forget the day that the appraiser came, and I didn't know at the time because I was so young, but how important it was to get a certain valuation of the home because we were living off of that home equity line, but I had no idea. And he never let us feel it, which, I give him so much credit. We still went out to dinner as if we had, money, but he was honestly really struggling inside. Um,
Mm.
so, knowing that, and he's always just been an amazing, he gives so much unconditional love, which allows for you to just feel so comfortable. But then on top of that, whether it's really YouTube is a huge thing for me. I'm like, I fall asleep listening to people provide inspiration. I really enjoy listening to people speak on all things, whether it's culture in your company, how to manage people, success stories. So we're really lucky to find a lot of kind of top-notch information pretty easily, right? Like the secrets that I know that work really well for me aren't really secrets. They're all out there. You just have to actually go and find them and listen. I think a lot of people hear advice, but they don't actually execute on it. I'm a big executor. Like you give me something that I know will work, I'm gonna at least try it. And so my mentors are everywhere. I really am like a sponge.
I understand that completely. I've got the Brene Browns of the world. They don't know me, right? They have no
Right.
idea that they're mentoring me, but they do. And I want to go back to something you say there too, is that you're a sponge, you listen. A lot of people they want to, but their fear gets in the way. What do you
Hmm.
do when your fear comes up? Because you will really have taken, and we're going to go through some of the leaps recently that you've taken too. What keeps your fear at bay as you're moving forward?
Yeah, I have a business advisor myself. I implemented that quite a few years ago as just a form of accountability. I find for me, fear is when you allow the thoughts to accumulate in your mind and don't speak them, right? Once you speak them out in the universe, especially to someone that's a really wonderful sounding board, what you think is very scary isn't. It's just you have to now go about it strategically. It's like when you have this really big goal and you break it down into small goals, it's no longer that intimidating. So I that's my mechanism to kind of disperse this big fear, this big dark cloud that's hanging over me. I'm a big advocate for therapy. I honestly feel like the more you do for yourself to take care of yourself, which is why I really love my businesses because they're all about self-care, the better you are for everyone else. And I think there's a disconnect there. People feel guilty, whether it's to take a vacation or to go get that massage or to just have time for therapy. Like, if you are constantly saying the words, I don't have the time, you're not making the time. And that's the difference.
Yeah, no, I always say this. Nobody's coming to your front door to knock on it saying it's timeout time for you to like get away from your desk. If you don't do it on your own, nobody's going to do
Hmm.
it for you. So you
Yeah.
have to hold yourself accountable too. So Sweat 440 and Drybar.
Hmm.
What made you move into, ownership of those, franchising, two new franchises, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. And they happened to I think I almost signed the same month. So it was like, I just didn't think it would happen that way, but the opportunities presented themselves and I jumped. And, franchising, there's always an opportunity, whether it's an established brand like Hand and Stone. If you want in, you can find your way in. People think sometimes when a brand's very established, you can't get in. You can if you're good at what you do and the brand really takes to you. But then there's something like Drybar and Sweat for 40 where you want to get in early because the markets are available. And so that was really it. I can continue to, kind of make the region where I own Hand and Stones wider and wider. And that still might be, something that I do. But there's nothing like opening in the same markets where you've been successful for years in a business that really shares the same customer, right? So now it's like this portfolio of brands that all speak to the same client. And I figured, Hand and Stone's complexity is higher than these two newer businesses. So I thought I'd be pretty empowered to run them and be successful because of the skills I developed running a Hand and Stone. And it's proven to be true. Sweat 440 is an amazing concept because we offer a class every 10 minutes. So you cannot say, I don't have the time to work out. And frankly, there's another amazing thing to do for yourself. Just breaking a sweat mentally, the science behind that alone, it's incredible what doing that can do for yourself. And so I thought that the whole concept was genius, and I still do. And so every 10 minutes, you can join a class. It's a 40-minute workout. You do 12 exercises, and you're done, and you feel very, very accomplished. And then my sister has been a very loyal client to Blowouts for a while, and I love the culture of Drybar. It's their kind of their whole brand promise is just very much on acceptance and love for yourself. And if you look good, then you feel good, and then you're totally transforming the way you feel after you leave Drybar, because it's just all about rolling out the red carpet for our clients. And it's a fun brand. And I was actually very happy and excited when they became a franchise brand, because forever it's just been corporate owned. And the founder of Drybar, Ali Webb, she is, what an inspiring story that she has, building this huge national brand that's really the biggest player in blowouts. And so it's been fun. And as soon as it stops being fun, then what's the point of doing all of this? And we're having a lot of fun.
So, what I love is, you go, you work out, then you may be a little sore. So you go, you get a massage. And then after you do that, you want to go out for a night on the town, you get your blowout. You've got this whole way and flow and ebb and flow of how, you know, your customer can be the same customer for all three. And it's just amazing that you're doing, and it's all about wellness,
Right.
and all about health and wellness. As a leader, you've got lots of employees, and so leaders may be listening to this. What would you say the secret sauce is to leadership and leading successful brands?
So pretty sure the CEO now of Hand and Stone, John Tezza, is the one that introduced me to the book that a prior CEO of Dunkin' wrote. And it's just like about the challenge culture and how successful organizations thrive under culture of feedback. And so one of the things that I feel very fortunate has been organic and kind of innate in me is I love feedback, and like I try to create a space where employees can be pretty unfiltered and open with me on how they're feeling in their employee experience, as well as clients, in their experience. As I always will tell a client, we'll never be perfect, but I can assure you no business will care as much as we do to fix it. And, so I think it's important to, a lot of businesses maybe run one way with their way of handling clients, but very differently in their way of handling employees. And I look at the way I handle both parties the same. We're nothing without our employees. The product in all of my businesses are literally my people. And so I love to be challenged on how to do a better job to be a better employer for them, because that is what I want, is them to stay with me for many years to come and know that I'm looking out for their best interests as much as possible. And when I think about like Hand and Stone, when you have almost 600 locations across the US and Canada, you're now one of the you're creating change in an industry. You're affecting an entire industry. And so there's a responsibility there in terms of the way that you address, all aspects of, the career of a massage therapist, the career of an esthetician. And so, we don't take those type of things lightly, for sure. And I certainly don't. So I would just say feedback is important. And, as soon as you get kind of closed-minded to the feedback of your team, put someone else in place to handle it, because you're going to now go down the wrong direction, and that's where the culture of your business will start to get poor, and then everything snowballs after that.
So, as if you weren't busy enough,
Mhm.
you have a new business that you have started that I know when we kind of briefly chatted, you're very excited about. So, can you share what you're doing now to include in your resume of things that you're doing?
Yeah. So I've discovered, and the light bulb went off this past year, that I'm in QuickBooks a lot naturally. I really enjoy numbers. And so I've developed the playbook on how to run a business more profitably. And I love looking at the P&L and the balance sheet of a business. And I know most business owners don't. And most business owners would rather not learn that either. But it's then very hard to find someone to help you to make sure that you're essentially free cash flow positive. So the name of this new company, which is really a bookkeeping company, at least out of the gate, but I'm sure we will be more and more of like an advising company, is Free Cash Flow Advisors. And so I want the knowledge that I have created and almost put in this playbook format to be available. I just had to be able to monetize it though, because it's become in a positive way, but also a little overwhelming, just helping business owners in this topic. So I want to kind of make my knowledge available to more people in a way that it makes sense through forming this business. So whether it's franchises, I'm open to any type of business. So it could be just a small business owner who many of them don't even have a bookkeeper. They do the books themselves, but they're not really having somebody that has a third party perspective to look at things a little bit differently and say, these are the things that you can do to make your business profitable. Because a lot of businesses, as you I'm sure realize, are not very profitable. Some of them are losing money and the owner is not even aware until it's too late. So our little slogan is we budget for profit, because you can budget for profit. It's just most people don't budget. So that's part of the problem.
So now how do people find you if they need the resource that you're just sharing now? Where do they go for that?
Yeah, so the best way, honestly, would probably be to just send me an email, as much as that sounds crazy right this moment. The freecashflowadvisors.com website is literally, it would be available by the time this episode airs. So freecashflowadvisors.com would be the best bet, actually. And we'll be honest, we are new, and I'm certainly hungry and eager to grow, but I want to make sure that we have the bandwidth to support the interest. And I do feel like there will be a lot of interest, because there already has been through my conversations. Um, but so I appreciate anyone's interest in being a client, because I'm sure that this will kind of strike a nerve in a lot of people when they think about if they want to be more profitable.
So we have one more thing to add to this long list of things that you are doing. And we will ask the question how you balance it all after we go through the next piece, which I'm super excited for you too, because podcasting, meeting the people I have met through this podcast, it never would have happened otherwise, to be honest. And people from all over the world. So it's such a blessing to have a podcast. But the Opportunity Coach podcast, why did you create it? I know it launches on March 13th. I'm super excited for you, but share more about that for us.
Yeah, when I think about a lot of these like one-on-one conversations that I have that I love, sometimes I almost reflect on it and think, wow, I wish I had like an audience for that talk because it was, there was some really good content there. And so I love helping others in finding opportunity, and it could literally be anything. Opportunity doesn't have to be business, it doesn't have to be a way to make money. It could just be finding an experience that changes your mindset. So that's why I just love this whole overall theme of the opportunity coach. And whether it's interviewing really great guests that have an amazing resume, where they've built up some kind of successful, undertaking themselves. I may even have some sessions where it's just me going to speak on a topic. But I love sharing the good news, sharing the knowledge, and it's important. Like I feel like one of my secret sauces to being successful is trying to keep up with the latest information, to work smart, not hard. So, you talk about me and my balance. I am constantly trying to find the easiest way to get from A to Z. Like I don't want to go through a maze. I give me the shortest distance to get to the solution because time is our most valuable asset. And I love what I do, but work is never going to just be my only thing in life. I want to have balance in all things. I have a wonderful family, amazing friends. I enjoy trying to do it all. It can be tough sometimes. But I'm hoping that that's going to be one of many things that we inspire in these podcast episodes. And it launches next Wednesday, March 13th.
Where will people be able to find it? Anywhere?
Pretty much everything. Yeah, I'm going to make sure I do a platform that's Spotify and podcast from Apple. And yeah, so pretty much if you can't find it, I would want to know because I'm going to put it on all the platforms.
That's very, very exciting. Congratulations, because it's just incredible. Speaking
Thank
about
you.
all these things, I have a question about, do you miss being an ICU nurse in any way, shape, or form?
I will always say, like these businesses is what I do, but who I am is a nurse. It is very much in me. I still feel like I wear the nurse hat in, my spas. It's funny, sometimes people come to me for questions like about anatomy or whatnot, and I like that. Obviously when family members or friends are going through something with their health, I like being the person that they pick their brain. um, but I will be honest in that it's hard to both physically do the work and critically think all at the same time, while you're just doing everything you can to keep someone alive, which essentially is very much what the case is in ICU, especially when you first get the patient and there's just a lot of question marks on their stability. So, the nurses that I worked with at Ocean Medical Center in their ICU will forever have just this very big place in my heart because they worked there, some of them 30 plus years. They're still there, working, sometimes even more than just your typical full-time job. And it's just incredible. So I will always be grateful for the experience and the people that I met and still have relationships with. And I miss the people most. But I do enjoy being in a place where I can kind of be the architect of a lot of people. It was a difficult job for me in some ways because of me wanting to kind of really think through everything, but I also have to act constantly too. So, but it was really amazing, though hard, but amazing to be the person that creates that calm and reassurance as much as possible for the members of the family who were just so distraught. A lot of times they couldn't even speak to their family member because they're on a ventilator. And so, me trying to translate what was going on to keep them at ease was something that I really, it changed me being in that role.
Well, I can't even imagine. I give nurses, doctors such a tremendous amount of credit. And in the hospital, it is the nurses because they're there 24/7 with the patient, at 12 hours at a time. And it's when you do that, it's a selfless, totally a selfless role and a job. And so thank you for doing that and helping save lives. And in essence, what you are doing is all about that wellness piece, right? So it's kind of more about that, making sure to take care of yourself so you don't wind up there, right?
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
and so that's a beautiful thing. But I know people are probably thinking, Nick, how do you do it all without kind of like not overwhelming yourself to total burnout? I know for myself, I'm doing multiple things, and there are days that burnout is real. You feel like, okay, I'm done. I have no more to give. How do you work and work through that? And what is your go-to when you are done and you have no more to give?
Yeah. I will say the word burnout actually came out of my mouth at some point this past year where I was nervous, excuse me, that I was on the brink of it. So, um, my issue is the mind never stops. I'm always thinking, and there's this physical exhaustion that comes from mental thought all the time. And I didn't realize that until this really past year about how actually that is exhausting when your mind never turns off. So, um, I'm trying to proactively kind of get ahead of those feelings where you're doing too much by making it a priority to just turn off, and relax and accept that there's always things that you can move forward. There's always work to be done. And if my goal is to feel caught up, that's not the right mindset, right? Because that's probably never going to be achieved in what I do. There's no way to know if you're caught up because there's always something that needs of your service or could use your service. So, I use technology a lot. I'm a big project management tool person. So I run my entire company using Asana, which is a task-based management system that I find is incredible. What I love about the platform is you assign the whatever needs to get done to one person, and it stays assigned to that one person, unless they reassign it to somebody else. But the idea is whoever's assigned the task, it's their job to get it done. And that just means find a way to get it done. Unless you ask for help, we're not going to assume that you're not aware of how to get it done. You have to ask questions, and building that in your team culturally is important. So I have an executive assistant that was a game changer hire for me. And my assistant Janine is absolutely wonderful at what she does, and she really fits well with my personality, which is important too. So, if the people you surround yourself with don't kind of stay on track with the things that you continue to take on, then you will burn yourself out. So, you can't just add to your plate without growing then the resources around you to support it. And that's how you have to almost look at this is like you're supporting, say, 5 pounds, and then you grow, and now you're supporting 10 pounds, and now you're up to 100 pounds. And you didn't get any stronger. You need more people now. You need more infrastructure. And so I guess that's the way I think about it when it comes to not adding more where I'm going to then, kind of bust, if you will.
I hate to ask this question, but love to ask it all at the same time. What else is there out there? You see yourself 3 years down the road. What's out there for
Yeah.
Nick Marco moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think what the podcast will bring will be exciting. One of the potential, goals of having a podcast is to be booked for motivational speaking. I really do enjoy being in front of a large audience because it's just efficient. My efficiency mindset is, well, I can talk to 100 people at the same time. That's a lot better than one-off conversations. And because I love making change in people's lives and positively impacting people's lives. To just, if they take one action in their life from after listening to me speak, that's like the most validating thing I could ever experience. So, probably motivational speaking is a big one for me. And then just growing this new company, and who knows. I think I am very conscious of like I can't just keep adding so much so where it doesn't feel enjoyable. So what I'm kind of evaluating is, I'm opening up quite a few lanes at the same time, but I will eventually shut down some of these lanes if I want to not feel like I'm all over the place. But right now I'm in a great spot. I have a wonderful team, and I do feel like I have all of it under control.
What resources can you share? Is there a book? Is there a TED Talk? Is there something that you'd like to share besides the fact that people should definitely listen to the Opportunity Coach podcast because that's a
Sure.
resource. Is there
Sure.
anything else that you recommend or suggest to our listeners?
I have always enjoyed the book, The One Thing, where, it does talk about doing less and obsessing about the things that you do really well. So that's a wonderful book that comes to mind right away. I love listening to TED Talks. I can't think of one specifically that
Mhm.
speaks to me at the moment, but I guess too, have your own accountability if you are your own boss through like a business advisor. I can give a shout out to Cultivate Advisors, which is a company that I've subscribed to for many years now. And nothing like that. In my case, usually it's a bi-weekly meeting where we just kind of go over the things that I set intention to do, and every 2 weeks. So it keeps things moving for me. So I find that that's very effective, and just prioritizing self-care. So whatever you do that works, don't feel like you ever have to apologize or be embarrassed to promote that that's what you need to get done. Like, tell the people in your life that that's an important aspect of your lifestyle to maintain, being this force that you are in your company or in your organization. And that'll help people respect you more. And frankly, you'll, I think, set a good example. So, so yeah, those are just a few more things that I think are helpful.
So I ask everybody the same last question that that I think is important. And in your young years, yet you've done so much. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
The legacy that I want to leave behind. Well, I think that I want to be a source of energy in this world that allows for people to feel comfortable with who they are and be vulnerable. I feel that there's such opportunity in vulnerability, and I have certainly been an example of that. I find that more and more open and honest I am with myself, to myself, but also to the people that I can trust, with, just, being open with how I feel, that the better I can be as a human being. And I feel like these tools that I have, that I feel fortunate to have developed at this stage in my life, I want more people younger to also share in the way I feel. And I feel like that comes from, people putting out, offer a helping hand when somebody seems to want to talk to you more and ask questions. We are all very busy, but if you don't make the time for others to be heard, you're really closing the door on opportunity from other people. And so you want to share in the success, which is, my goal. I only work really hard, and look for success to share it with the people that I care about most. Like, that's literally what drives me. I could never enjoy success if it was just to only enjoy it on my own. I want to create fun experiences for other people, or make someone's day, with some kind of a cool surprise. That's what I'm all about.
Is there any other message that you want to share with the audience that you feel like you haven't yet?
We were just speaking earlier today on my own podcast about the power of resilience. And, resilience really does come from, you know, doing the work on the aspects of yourself that need healing. And I think that we all kind of can go back to our childhood in some way, shape, or form, and not maybe realize until adulthood that there was some impact that wasn't positive from some experiences, whether it was close to home or it was just something that was traumatic. um, as much as that very much can impact you for years to come, once you're an adult, you have the ability to know to write your history, and you can't keep holding on to those experiences, as a way to almost make an excuse for not reaching your potential. We're very lucky in this day and age to have a lot of resources out there to help heal. So hold yourself accountable to find healing in whatever it is that might be why you're holding yourself back, and that will make you a very resilient person. My optimism comes from all of the healing that I've done on my own journey in life, and I want to surround myself with people that share in that resiliency, and promote it too.
I think a lot of people who they feel stuck in the part of the things that aren't going right. And it actually somehow becomes this habit of and continues to have this continuum because it just feels safer than putting themselves out there. And it is scary, to put yourself out there and start things and pray that people come to your location, listen to your podcast. You're counting on people you don't know to jump on board and be there. And sometimes we succeed. And Brene Brown says this, we don't fail, we fall. Because as babies, when we fall, what do? We get back up, right?
Right. Right.
And we get a scraped knee, we put a band-aid on and we keep going. But as adults, we feel like failures if we fall. And
Hmm.
that is a mindset as opposed to the truth. And
Right.
so, anything else that you want to share about that before we go?
Yeah, no, I think that the idea of thinking of it as falling versus failing is actually really a really awesome way to look at it. And I love Brene Brown. I was really positively impacted by her Netflix special, which is all about vulnerability. And I mean, everything that she talks about can be applied to like everything in life. So I really enjoy her perspective. And I always love like when she talks about a couple relationship and like when you walk into the house after a long day and just be like, I'm at a 30 today. Like I'm not at, we're not going to be 50-50. So I'm at a 30. I need you to be at a 70. So you can help make up the difference. And, it's so true. And so, that's, um, hold yourself accountable because you can't not. If you don't, then you're really limiting yourself of what you can achieve. But at the same time, you don't go through life, faking it till you make it. Surround yourself with people that you're comfortable with that aren't going to judge you when you have your bad days or aren't going to judge you when you say I need help because that's I think maybe what happens when people do try to take on a lot is they don't want to realize that they maybe took on more than they can handle or they just didn't go about it with the strategy that it's impossible to predict all the challenges that are going to come your way when you take on risk. So you got to be vulnerable with people. And so I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's so well said, beautifully said, and I love that. And my dad, like you, my dad was my mentor, and he had a saying: "There are no accidents in life, only opportunities." I'm not sure he's the only one who ever said that, but that was what he instilled in me. And so when we met, and then you started the opportunity coach, I thought to myself, that's very interesting.
Wow.
And I just thought there was just a reason, right? I do believe there are reasons we meet people. Your
Hmm.
inspiration is amazing. Your thought process on things. I know from experience, I can honestly say we had you speak at something here for the organization that I run, the MODC, and so many people were inspired by you and your sister speaking, and I'm grateful for you for that. People want you to be their mentor and their coach from that meeting. So I know, what you're about and grateful to know you. How do people find you, Nick, if they want to talk to you?
Yeah, so I am gonna like kind of flip the switch on my Instagram account to be Nicholas Marco underscore CEO. And so it'll be more professional based more than anything. And so I'm sure I'll have a website as well. But until then, if you're a social media person, go there. And then I would say the Opportunity Coast Coach podcast. Been a long day. We're really at the end
Yes.
of the road here.
Yes.
But my
Yes.
podcast, as well as freecashflowadvisors.com, if you can't find me, I will be surprised. And if I don't get back to you right away, don't be shy to be persistent because I will tell you, I've had to be very persistent to get in front of people and it's paid off. And, I would love to speak to anyone that loves to discuss any of the things we discussed today.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Nick, for all you're about, sharing your journey here. I think so many people are going to learn from you. And I'm going to say what I say at the end of every single podcast, besides thank you again. I'm grateful to you. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So, what small or large steps are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goal? Nicholas Marco, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you, Jody. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye bye.